Hi, I'm Ed Highland. This is ASA TV, and I'm joined now by Dr. Stanley Stead, who is ASA's Vice President for Professional Affairs. Dr. Stead, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's jump right into it and talk a little bit about your description, if you would, or explanation of Perioperative Surgical Home model of care. Tell us a little bit about it. What is it?
Well, the Perioperative Surgical Home model of care is actually a description of taking a patient from the decision of surgery through the period of surgery and then through the immediate post-operative period back to recovery. And the model of care really describes a coordination of care from that decision point back to the point of recovery.
Now, why do we need a new model of care?
Well, it used to be that you had one doctor, and that doctor might have been your general practice doctor, and they sort of followed you through whatever illness you had. They saw you in the hospital, they'd see you afterwards. Today, with specialization, your primary care doctor basically passes you off to a hospitalist in the hospital who will look at your care in the hospital, and then you're passed to the surgeon, passed back to the hospitalist, and then hopefully back to your primary care doctor. So what's happened is there's been a fragmentation of care, and there's no longer one person who actually follows you all the way through. So the model of care that we're describing is actually to have that consistency all the way through.
Are there other factors that are encouraging the creation of new models of care, government, for example, or business?
Well, I think the first thing is we recognize that it was simply better care for patients. And when we talk about better care today, we talk about the triple aim, which is better health care, a better experience for the patient, and lower cost. And we found that when we were having patients in this fragmented care, there's duplication of tests, there's duplication of orders, information is dropped on the floor, unfortunately, or miscommunicated. And so by allowing a different structure of how the care is handled throughout that period, patients do better. Now, yes, there are government changes, and certainly healthcare reform has driven some of this, but our point was really to improve patient care, not really to go and be responsive to payment.
Now, the Society is wrapping up its first PSH Learning Collaborative. Can you tell me a little bit about what were the major takeaways or perhaps lessons learned?
Well, the collaborative was really interesting. We had 44 hospitals across the United States, and we had great participation in a variety of different areas. What we found most of all is that people were not as prepared as they thought they were to make this change. And so when you go and start something like this, the hardest thing is to get everybody on the same page and to realize that it's a team effort. It's simply not an individual effort. If I wanted to start the PSH at my hospital and started it on my own, it would not be successful. What you have to do is get a critical mass of not just physicians, but everybody else involved. If you're doing a perioperative surgical home, for instance, for joint replacement, like a hip replacement, you need to get everybody involved, including physical therapy, nursing, dietary, along with their primary care physicians, along with a lot of other professionals, to get people back to that level of function. So our biggest lesson is that people didn't recognize it was as much of a team effort as it was.
Plans for a second collaborative, I understand, are already underway. Give us some ideas about the goals there.
Well, we've learned how to go and make a collaborative a great experience where people measure that they understand processes, they share that information, and then we basically repeat that process. What's really changed is on the second collaborative, we understand where a lot of the roadblocks are. We've actually formulated a lot of the processes, and we're now at a point that we can help jumpstart beginners. And at the same time, we've got excellent measures of outcomes. So we understand how patients will do in a given environment, and we can help you now demonstrate that you actually have great savings and a better experience.
Fascinating information. Dr. Stanley Stead, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ed.
And this is ASA TV.